Julie Diane caught this on her granddaughter's monitor overnight. She believes it to be her Poppy that has come to visit, who passed away suddenly 10 months ago.
What the fuck was that? Oh.
În toate zilele vieții voastre, ca aceluia se cuvine toată slava, cinstea și închinăciunea, împreună cu cel fără de început al lui Părinte, și preasfântul și bunul Zădiatul Făcătorul Duhului, acum și pururea și în vecii vecilor.
Amin.
Domnului să ne rugăm.
Doamne miluiește.
Harul Domnului.
Lexi. Hey. Stop staring at me like that. Alexis. Yo, you're starting to freak me the f out. Mom! Stop! Why are you crying? Hello? Lexi? Mom! She's just standing here staring at me.
Relax. Hey. Come on, go lay down.
It's the middle of the night. Does anybody else have a problem when they wear these at night? Like, they don't stay on? Baby? She's not even home. Okay. Did y'all hear that? See what I mean? Can't even.
So it's 2:30 in the morning. I wake up and Luke is staring here in the corner. He's absolutely staring at a spirit, and you're going to see that spirit's ball of energy leave this spot where Luke is staring at. Man, I wish I could see what he saw. There's a spirit that Luke was just staring at 100%. My dog Luke sees another spirit, and we're going to hear this one. Where's the spirit, Luke? Where's the spirit, Luke? I absolutely heard walking, maybe even running.
Dogs see things that we don't. This is insane. This dog definitely sees something there, and the camera's actually picking it up. It just dropped him like a treat or something. Thanks for watching, y'all. Stay weird.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Morgan was home alone when she captured something strange on camera. She writes, "This is my daughter's dog. There was absolutely nothing there. At least nothing we could see, but he could." Take a look at how the dog reacts.
We would take the speed limit down to 5 miles an hour. But we don't do that, right? We accept that we...
Viewers believe that Martha's daughter's dog might be sensing something we can't see. If that's really what's happening, then what exactly is it seeing? And why is it growling? Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure. It's always unsettling when a dog growls at something that isn't there. What do you think?
Did you hear that? That was like a growling.
The following videos are from a young Hungarian couple who had just moved into their new home. After settling in, immediately weird things start happening. Their dog starts barking at these shadows that they've caught on camera, as well as weird noises coming from empty rooms. They think they're being haunted, but then they start finding little hideaways, little rooms, little storage areas throughout their home. And what they find in them may be key as to why they're being haunted. This will be a 2-part series, but take a look at these videos and tell me what you think.
Animals are sensitive to energy. If your dog starts barking in an empty corner, maybe it's not so empty. And Pearl will bark at them for me. She'll get them. Right, Pearl? Right, girl? Good girl.
This is the clearest picture of a spirit that I've ever seen. When this photo was taken, there was no woman present inside of the building. And when investigators checked the photos that they had taken that night afterwards, they saw this ghostly face of a woman. And what's really eerie about this is that this photo was taken inside of the Dumas brothel in Montana. And this location is known to be haunted by a number of women. I actually spent the night recently inside of the building where that photo was taken. Welcome to the Dumas brothel in Butte, Montana. Now, this place is haunted by a number of female spirits, and it has a pretty tragic history. So there were 3 deaths inside of the building, and all 3 of them could have been murders. In fact, one of the former madams of the brothel actually passed away up here in the upper floor of the building. And almost immediately afterwards, another woman took over her position, started driving her car, wearing her robes. So people definitely suspect it was a murder. In the basement of the building is a very scary portion of the place called the Cribs. I was talking to the owners of the building, and they think that there may have been illegal baby sales going on in the basement. And they also think the lives of babies and children may have been ended. The energy in here is so dark, it's so scary, and it's violent too. I saw it firsthand. I just can't get over this photo. I think it gives very uncanny valley vibes, and when I investigated there that night and actually was in the pitch black inside of that building, I couldn't stop thinking about how freaky this photo was, and the activity that we caught on camera that night definitely matched the vibe of this picture. It was scary, it was intense, something choked my dad out. I was with my dad, he almost had to quit investigating that night. Yeah, the video is on my YouTube channel now if you want to watch it. It's so crazy.
Cleaning my grave.
That's it. Done, son. That's it. We're cleaning your grave. That's it, little Mary.
It's unknown. What is your name?
My name is John, Mary. Seems like you're having trouble retaining that information. If you're one of those. That's okay, baby. I won't forget you.
I think that was awesome of that dude cleaning that little girl's grave. What are your thoughts? Do you believe that the little girl was talking through the spirit box?
I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. No, I didn't. Because my daughter woke up in the middle of the night, looked me dead in the eyeball and said, "Mommy, I'm afraid of what's under the bed." And in my head I was thinking, that's really fucking creepy. I too am now afraid of what's under the bed. That's not what I said though. No, what I said was, "Honey, there's nothing under the bed. Just go back to sleep." Did I believe that? No. Actually, I'm pretty sure there was something under the bed. But I lied to her for her comfort. And then she asked me to check under the bed. And in my head, I was like, ain't no fucking way am I getting out of bed right now to check under it. Instead, I reassured her that there was nothing under the bed, and I told her to go back to sleep. And she tried for a minute. Her eyes fluttered. They like a little bit. And then they popped right open again, and she was looking at the TV that was turned off in our dark room. And she goes, "Mommy, who's that on the TV?" And in my head, I'm thinking, dog, I don't fucking know. You tell me. You're the one seeing dead people. Who the fuck is that on the TV? Because I don't see it. But I'm terrified. I don't say that. No, instead I say, "Honey, the TV's turned off. There's no one on the TV. Just go back to sleep." And she falls back asleep eventually. You know who doesn't? Me. Because I'm afraid of what's under the bed now. And I'm wondering who the fuck that was on my TV. On my TV that was turned off. Who was it? And now I'm thinking I need to fucking spray my daughter with holy water. Except I don't have holy water. What I do have is Dawn dish soap power scrub. I could spray her with that, hit her with a microfiber towel, and hope that fucking works. I'm terrified right now. And I'm a little bit tired, but mostly terrified.
Alright, so I want to touch on that clip real quick. That lady, she's a famous comedian on TikTok. She has like 1 million followers. So I don't know the legitimacy of that clip, but I do it in there for a reason. There are a lot of parents who dismiss their kids when their kids tell them they're seeing things or they have imaginary friends. I could personally attest to that because I had many friends growing up who would tell me their stories because no one else would listen. Hence, you guys tell me your stories because no one else will listen. I listen. So now I'm going to share a story with you that happened 3 weeks ago with my daughter. So my daughter came over to my house 3 weeks ago. The next morning, I'm on the couch, I'm editing a video for YouTube. She comes to me, said, "Daddy, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "All right, P, what's going on?" She's like, "You were sleeping last night and I saw a shadowy figure by the stairs." And I'm like, "Okay, were you scared?" She said, "Yeah, I was a little afraid, and then I saw a creature standing by the doorway of your studio. I was asleep. This was about 12:30 a.m. She was still awake on TikTok. You know, she's a teenager now. She's 13. So she's on TikTok and she's feeling a dark presence by the staircase and then a creature by the studio. So I asked her, "What did you do?" She said she started praying and then she saw herself walking towards the creature with a glowing sword. And she said she started poking the creature with the sword and the creature vanished. And then the spirit that was at the staircase, that also vanished. She said because she prayed, she was able to sleep. I was so proud of her. You know, train up a child in a way they shall go, and when they grow old, they will not forget it. My daughter is very sensitive to the spiritual. She has been seeing things since she was 2 years old. All right, so about to dive into the next segment. What if aliens aren't what we've been told? Some believe they're fallen angels, part of a great deception to deceive the masses, such as Project Bluebeam. Right? But what if it's something more sinister? What if it's all connected to the spiritual? The mixing of DNA, RH bloodlines, the Anunnaki. If you know, you know. Enough said. Let's get diving.
We're all familiar with Area 51, how it's said to have UFOs there, alien things there, even alien bodies from the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. This is the story about Area 51 that will give you nightmares. This young woman right here's name is Abigail Weston, and she was turned into a human lab rat at Area 51. In the 1940s, the US Army wanted to make their soldiers more powerful, so they decided to start doing tests to see if they could develop immortality. They would do these tests at the US Air Force Base Area 51. They needed to find somebody to do these tests on, though, and that's when a highly renowned scientist by the name of Albert Weston proposed that they use his daughter, Abigail Weston. They started doing different experiments on her and loading her up with different chemicals. She started to change in her physical appearance, her teeth grew really long, and she started getting really tall. Follow for part 2. Part 2. It's rumored that Abigail grew to between 10 and 14 feet tall. Obviously, the US government realized that the concoction they had given Abigail did not have an outcome like they had been hoping for. It was supposed to make her stronger, but instead it turned her into a monster. The government had decided to keep Abigail locked in a cell at Area 51. At this point, Abigail looked nothing like her old self. She now looked like this. And everything took a turn for the worst when one of the guards went to go check on Abigail. She ended up mauling and eating him. After this incident, they decided to try to starve Abigail so that she wouldn't be alive anymore. Only Abigail was overpowered by her hunger. Turns out the concoction they had given her at Area 51 had turned her immortal. And even though the US government tried everything they could to get rid of Abigail, it's said that she's now kept in a secluded wing at Area 51. And if you get close to the Area 51 premises, you can hear Abigail's cries in the distance, trotting around her secluded wing, crying out to be fed.
What's hidden behind Area 51? Why is it one of the most secret places on Earth, where airspace is strictly closed and anyone trespassing into the area will be shot on sight? This secret military base, located in Nevada, USA, is rumored to hold evidence of alien civilization. According to legend, it all began with the Roswell incident in 1947, when an alien ship crashed on a ranch near Roswell. Farmers reported the incident to the police, and soon after, a military convoy arrived on the scene to collect the wreckage, and, according to eyewitnesses, the bodies of aliens. They were to be transported to Area 51 for research. Shortly after, the government officially stated that it was just a weather balloon. One of the most famous stories is the story of scientist Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at Area 51 and studied alien technology. He also stated that there are different types of alien civilizations.
They offered me $2 billion to not pursue what I was doing. Someone in the photo lab took a picture of a picture. It's an extraterrestrial on a dissection with a group of doctors and what looked like some suits in the background. Yeah, arms, legs, head. The head is covered with a towel. Apparently it was badly mutilated. It had a weird, almost like a spine on the front, like we have a sternum that you could see, like a bumpy thing. Different hands and feet, not tiny. I think it was around 5 feet. It's hard to tell from this photo. I have the documents. I have the trace landing. I have the U.S. military Air Force people's testimony that were there. When one of these, in this case, it was an extraterrestrial vehicle, not one of the man-made ones. So we call them ETVs for the ones that are of extraterrestrial origin. There were 3 of these man-made UFOs, ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, hovering in this hangar.
aliens. Colombia just found the first piece of alien technology in history, and there's videos to prove it. You gotta see this story. This thing is being called the Buga Sphere. It was found in Colombia last month, and scientists have no idea how it was made. A glowing metallic sphere was caught on camera flying through the sky, descending silently, and then something insane happened. It didn't vanish. It didn't explode. It landed, and someone actually put their hands on it and picked it up. This isn't science fiction. This is real, and it might be the most convincing physical evidence of extraterrestrial technology we've ever had, if you can believe it. Videos started circulating of a floating metal orb glowing with shifting lights hovering low over the ground, no sound, no wings, no visible propulsion, and then it descended. I was gonna call it AI generated, but the way the orb moves and the length of the videos, technology just isn't there yet, so it has to be something else. One guy got so close he actually touched it. He says it was freezing cold, dense, and unlike anything he'd ever seen. At first it weighed about 4.5 pounds, but when taken to a lab it registered 22 pounds. That alone raised eyebrows. It literally didn't change in size, but yet become 5 times heavier out of nowhere. But what scientists found next, that changed everything. The Buga Sphere was analyzed by a private tech company specializing in electromagnetic detection equipment. What they discovered was impossible. The sphere had no visible seams, no welds, no way of opening it, nothing. But it featured a strange black belt, markings resembling unknown symbols, looking like a strange language that doesn't exist. In the middle, it had what might be a quantum chip embedded into its structure, and its surface, when exposed to fire, it doesn't heat up. They put a blowtorch on it and nothing. It didn't burn or get hot. When splashed with water, it evaporates the liquid instantly, but it stays completely cool. It just doesn't seem to make sense. How can you pour water on it and then it evaporates, but then you could just touch it and it's not hot? X-rays revealed internal mechanisms, real components, not random junk. This thing wasn't hollow. It was engineered, designed, built for some kind of purpose. And here's the thing, just before it was handed over to Mexican journalist Jaime Maussan for further study, the team in Colombia received bizarre messages, some polite, some threatening, and one reportedly from Russia offering a deal for the sphere. Then again, I heard Putin isn't easy to make deals with. That's when the decision was made to get it out of Colombia. With official clearance from local authorities, Maussan brought the sphere to Mexico, where it's now under secure analysis. Could it be alien tech, or just a surveillance probe, a UFO from another dimension? Or maybe I just been watching too much Joe Rogan. I don't know. You let me know in the comments what you think. Is it real or not? I'll see you tomorrow.
I remember watching The Fourth Kind for the first time, asking myself if there was any truth to it. Well, this video popped up on Reddit recently, and it caught my attention.
So like 3 weeks ago, this thing showed up at my window. And it took a flash. There's no screen. There's no eye shine. And then it turned pink and disappeared. So last night, I get a knock on my window. This window. I pull up the blinds, and it's fucking sitting right on my ledge, looking at me. And it's fucking huge. It's like 3 feet tall. It's massive. And I go to pull my phone out. It sees me pulling my phone out, and it jumps away to the lead, the wire. And what it does from there is it jumps in the air and stays in the air. It doesn't move. Just stays there. I take a couple shots of it. And then, after it disappeared, these lights show up. Fucking insane.
An encounter of the first kind, that's when you see a UFO. The second kind is when you see evidence of it. The third kind is when you make contact. But the fourth kind, there's nothing more frightening than the fourth. That one is when they abduct you.
This is Dr. Abigail Emily Tyler, a psychologist and hypnotherapist from Anchorage, Alaska. At least she was, until the events that occurred in Nome in October of 2000. To be more specific, this is a mixture of recreation and archival footage filmed by Dr. Abigail herself.
There's an owl at my window.
An owl? A white owl. It was just looking at me. How long was it there?
Hours. No matter what I did, it wouldn't fly away. It wasn't scared of me.
And it details how Dr. Tyler had become convinced that the town's residents were being abducted by aliens.
He wasn't listening to me. You
know what Zumbabu
and
eater
then we're
means?
gonna kill him.
What? Wait, I didn't hear you, Tommy. What?
Zumbabu eater. Zumbabu eater. Zumbabu eater. What the hell does that mean? You can't help it.
How many of you have seen that movie, The Fourth Kind? That is an absolutely creepy movie. And it's some strange coincidences and correlations between demonic possession and what occurred in The Fourth Kind. Alright, let's dive into different types of aliens. Plemidians, Greys, Anunnaki, and the bloodlines, the tinkering of our bloodline and DNA, just as in the days of Noah. Let's go.
The Greys, the tall whites, the reptilians, but then there's the mantis too, right?
Right.
Other than the beings that we described, are there other ones that people have talked about?
Yes, I've actually, like I said, as a young adult, I probably encountered more of a spiritual sense, but they were Nordic looking, you know, platinum hair kind of a look, blue eyes.
Like the tall whites are different?
No, different.
How many documented different species have you heard of?
If I'm talking about my mission days, it's only that handful. And then if you're talking about other things that I've had other people tell me about, I think I've heard enough from enough people that I trust that I think our concept of life in this universe is totally off. I think there are literally trillions of other life forms, and anything you can imagine is probably true.
Think about the doctor who took the x-rays of this thing. Marco Leal, thank you, Marco, you're the man. Marco Leal found him 8 years ago. And he was like, he confirmed the story. He was still working at regional hospital. He goes, I'll never come forward. Marco kept going every year back and forth. Then he retired. And 4 years after he retired, he agreed to meet with us. He wasn't even sure he was going to go on. And I said, look, man, we'll film you from the back. We'll disguise your voice. Showed us photographs of him at the hospital. You know, we've been trying to get at him. Excuse me, at the end of the interview, thank you. I feel so much better. I've been shouldering that burden for 26 years, and I've so desperately wanted to tell somebody, to share that story with the rest of the world. And you meet these people, and you think, why on earth they didn't come to us? They're not trying to sell their story. We tracked them down and begged and pleaded with them to come forward.
So the Pentagon is bracing for a return of the Anunnaki. Yeah, the Anunnaki. Now, the only thing that makes sense to me as to why they will be waiting on the return of the Anunnaki is if they have had some type of contact with these beings. And if y'all have noticed that the Anunnaki, the lore behind the Anunnaki has gotten increasingly, like there's been way more talk about them lately. And with all the things going on in the sky, all the talks about aliens, all of the weird things going on in the atmosphere, people seeing weird things like with the thing in Israel, and remember the mall in Miami. And so they have been conditioning us to get ready for these Anunnaki to return as well. Now, those of you who have eyes to see and ears to hear, we know that whatever beings they are, whether you want to call them aliens, Anunnaki, demons, the fallen angels, the Nephilim spirits, the Nephilim itself, Satan and his army, whatever you want to call them, we know that it all is demonic. That's one thing that we know. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, do not fall into this whole, oh, these Anunnaki gods. And you know there's going to be some people who comment on this video and say, oh my gosh, they're so real, they're gods, they're this, they're that. And they're going to paint these beings in a good light. They're going to paint these beings in a positive light. Do not fall for the deception. Remember, when and if these things appear, it will not be for the benefit of the world. It will be for the benefit of Satan, the ruler of this world, the lowercase g, God of this world. Do not be deceived. Remember, not be deceived is mentioned several times over and over again, because as it pertains to the last days, there will be deception running rampant. Do not be deceived by this. Remember, Jesus is on the throne. It's all about God, and they're going to try to do everything to deceive you into believing that these beings are positive or good beings. They're not. Okay? And if I had to tell you, if I had to take a guess, it's either A, the fallen angels who have disguised themselves, or B, it is the offspring of the fallen angels and the women that created these beings, or even C, remember they were kind of manipulating humanity and manipulating life as we know it. So it could be a creature mixed with a human, mixed with another thing. Whatever the case may be, it is all demonic. Do not play into the lore. Remember that Jesus is still on the throne, and he is Lord, and he is returned.
The Anunnaki are a mysterious, legendary, otherworldly entity. There are many documented scriptures of them from our ancient past. We must give consideration to the facts being somewhat blurred by various abilities of translators, and of course, the passage of time. The most comprehensive and lengthy depictions can be found in the Sumerian tablets.
In old Sumer, there were tablets found, and on these tablets you see beings which in archaeology they called winged gods or winged geniuses.
Before we cover the Sumerian knowledge of these ancient gods, we can also consider the similarity of the recorded chapters in the Bible. Here, the race are mentioned in several verses and named as the Nephilim. Genesis 6:4 reads as follows.
The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old.
They saw that the daughters of men were beauty, so they took them to wife. By the way, in sort of the Bible translation they say, the fallen angels saw that the daughters of men were beauty, and they took them to wife. What is a fallen angel? They who descended. And not only in the Bible, you find this absolutely clear again in the book of Enoch. Enoch gives even the names of 36 of these extraterrestrial figures, which say, we want to go down there, we want to have sex, we want to do this, even if it's against what the Lord is the commander of the spaceship, says. And they had sex, and the result was some different creatures and giants and all these things.
In the Bible, this race of giants are called the Anakim. They are mentioned in the conquest of Canaan by the Israelites. According to the book of Numbers, Anak was a forefather of the Anakim. The Bible describes them as very tall descendants of the Nephilim, the daughters of men and sons of gods, and also fallen ones who existed before the deluge. The term Anunnaki has been translated in various forms and is the source of much controversy. Renowned author Zecharia Sitchin claims he has translated them as those from heaven came. Many scholars claim their interpretation is those of royal blood or those of princely offspring.
One friend and colleague of mine was Lawrence Gardner. He was tracking the whole significance of certain bloodlines going back into Mesopotamia. I was encountering exactly the same information coming in to my investigations of an alien presence on this planet and throughout.
And why is there RH negative?
RH negative is indicative of a very, very specific family line that goes very far back and has a certain context with respect to a particular star system we will not go into at this time.
The more Anunnaki blood you have, and this is even in the old text, the more powerful you are. So the more Anunnaki blood gives you more right to reign. It also gives you more power. To this day, they hold this sacred. This is why royal families marry royal families. This is why the Rothschild family bought their way in to getting that blood and being a part of their family, right? This is why you have people that do anything they can to achieve nobility because they want to receive this Anunnaki blood.
Like an animal. But then I've seen men become not people.
Like literally
not feed the people. Yeah.
Okay.
And there is like lycanthropy, and there's these understandings of what the watchers are capable of doing that most people are just woefully ignorant of. And that's why they're perishing. It's because they lack a basic understanding of history. And one of the predominant understandings of what a watcher, specific class of celestial beings, is capable of is augmenting itself. They can shapeshift. That is by their nature. They're literally called metaskizmadzotoi in the Greek in the New Testament. And it's because he says it's marvel not, because Hasatan, you could say like transforms himself. That's a good word for it. But he shapeshifts himself into an angel of light. And his messengers, his apostles, disciples, they do the same thing. And he's like, this is because they are capable of becoming anything they want to be in order to deceive on one side of the equation. And that's what they'll do. And so when people start engaging in these necromantic rituals and other stuff, and they start to seek the embodiment of these celestial ones, they can get these things on them and in them, and they can't contain them. And some of these guys who are messing with this stuff, who don't come from the bloodline, are incapable of cohabitating like a parasite, and they feed off of each other, and they can't handle it. And so that's why families are recruited from these bloodlines, and children are recruited out, even if they don't know anything about it. Like you said, the vast majority of people who come from these bloodlines, there's a lot of muddying of the waters. There's a lot of purity that's been changed. There's a lot of half-breeds. There's a lot of quarter breeds, right? There's a lot of people that don't know this stuff, and they start to get into lesser magic, and all of a sudden it's like the doors of everybody open to them. But that's why. It's because they can host these things better. Whereas those that don't, they get taken over by this stuff, and they can't change back. They can't return, in a sense. Like, people become completely possessed and are incapable of expelling the darkness after that. And who do you turn to? You're like, you're going to go to the Catholic guy who's all into the same thing that you're into, you know? Like, most people don't understand what a real deliverance is required for somebody that has gone down this far down, where they are consuming people. Like, that's a deep, devastating psychological, spiritual shock, physical, your liver, like the health. This is why I'm huge into health, because I've physically had to try to find ways to help people who have done all of these things. Like, the consumption of human blood does horrific things to the human body. You know, and this is a major practice within this. These families do drink blood. That's why we have these vampire class of people. It's not some kind of myth. People consume blood in order to extend their life force.
There are markers in your blood put there by extraterrestrials. In a fascinating revelation from the Human Genome Project, scientists have uncovered an astonishing fact. Among our 35,000 human genes, 250 have no discernible evolutionary origin. These 250 genes stand apart, not shared with any other terrestrial life form. Did you know that a whopping 85% of humans carry a gene with origins traced back to rhesus monkeys? This gene, known as the rhesus factor, Rh factor, is usually present in Rh-positive blood types, a trait shared by the majority of the global population. But what happens when an Rh-negative woman conceives with an Rh-positive partner? Without medical intervention, her body rejects and attacks the fetus. The question arises, could Rh-negative individuals be somehow different, or even of alien origin? Studies comparing Rh-negative and Rh-positive people have uncovered intriguing disparities. Rh-negative individuals often exhibit higher IQs, heightened sensitivity to vision, lower body temperatures, increased heat and sunlight sensitivity, and an inability to receive blood transfusions from Rh-positive donors. Many also possess distinctive physical traits, such as reddish hair and blue, green, or hazel eyes. Some even have extra vertebrae or ribs. Given that Rh-negative blood appears to defy conventional evolutionary paths, could it have been introduced from an external source? Renowned authors Erich von Däniken and Zecharia Sitchin offer compelling evidence that ancient astronauts might hold the key to this mystery. They suggest that these visitors genetically engineered both the human race and, figuratively speaking, the monkey race. According to von Däniken, the evidence lies in the awe-inspiring megaliths found around the world, attributed either to extraterrestrial influence or to humans taught advanced scientific knowledge. These monumental structures include Stonehenge, the enigmatic statues of Easter Island, and the iconic Egyptian pyramids and obelisks. Why did diverse ancient cultures, with no apparent means of communication, venerate these gods and depict them in their art as astronauts with spacecraft? Numerous ancient texts speak of gods descending from the heavens to create humankind in their own image. These accounts appear across cultures, from the Egyptians, Venetians, Chaldeans, Mayans, Aztecs, Aryans, Assyrians to the denizens of ancient India and Tibet. For insights into these divine beings, we turn to the Sumerians, the world's oldest civilization dating back to 6000 BC. The Sumerians documented the arrival of beings from another world, imparting advanced knowledge. They called these beings the Anunnaki, which translates to those from heaven to earth came. In the 1800s, Sumerian clay tablets discovered in Mesopotamia, Iraq, identified the god responsible for engineering the human race as Enki, known to the Greeks as Poseidon. His symbol, two entwined serpents, intriguingly mirrors the double helix of human DNA, a symbol still used in modern medicine. Why did these civilizations share similar narratives about our origins? The true question lies in why global religions have concealed this truth from us. Zecharia Sitchin suggests that ancient astronauts coexisted with the Sumerians, physically resembling them. These beings, through genetic engineering, shaped humans both physically and emotionally. Sitchin even posits interbreeding between these gods or ancient astronauts and the human females they created. Genesis 6:1-4 in the Bible seems to echo this idea, describing the sons of God taking human wives. But where did these celestial beings who seeded human life on Earth come from? The ancient astronauts arrived on a mission for gold but found themselves thrust into a primitive age, forced to rebuild their civilization and rediscover science. The concept of flesh and blood gods living alongside ancient humans challenges established beliefs, shaped over millennia by monotheistic religions. The Sumerians, however, saw such coexistence as a daily reality. Greek mythology, beneath its layers, appears to recount the exploits of ancient astronauts from Atlantis, powerful colossal beings with remarkable abilities, wondrous technology, and millennia-spanning lifespans. According to ancient Indian texts, these gods formed a divided family, the Olympians and the older Titans. Zeus and Poseidon, after a fierce battle, divided the world between them, with Poseidon ruling Atlantis and Zeus overseeing Lemuria. The narrative of how the gods created humans emerges in the Atrahasis epic, inscribed on clay tablets in the 18th century BC. The gods, after millennia of labor, decided to genetically engineer a slave race. Enki, Sumer's Poseidon, experimented with apes and monkeys, leading to the creation of the first hybrid slaves around 200,000 BC.
So what are your thoughts on everything I've shown you so far when it comes to the paranormal, aliens, Anunnaki, the bloodlines? Whether you believe this or not, evil does exist in this world, and I'm about to show you. This kind of evil happens every day, all across the globe. Viewer discretion advised, and I apologize for any trigger warnings. Let's go.
The girl you just saw in that video was 20-year-old Maria Kovalchuk, and recently Maria went missing in Dubai for a week and was found days later on a roadside in Dubai with a broken spine and other broken limbs. So Maria is an OF model, and a lot of people have spoken out after this, saying that they believe that Maria was invited to an elite party in Dubai. There have been lots of women that have shared their stories about these parties online, and they are incredibly disturbing stories, to say the least. The most disturbing of these parties are called porta potty parties. And essentially, women are flown into the country from all across the world. They are paid exorbitant amounts of money, and these very rich men, the elite members of society in the UAE, are allowed to defecate and urinate on these women, in these women, and even in their mouths. Other women who have witnessed some of these parties and attended them claim that girls are sometimes strung up on meat hooks, literally like something out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they claim that then the women are beaten while they're hanging on the hook for the gratification of the abuser. Before she went missing, Maria told her mother that she had been staying with two men that were involved in the modeling business. But according to officials in Dubai, they claim that Maria stumbled into an empty construction site and somehow fell from a piece of construction equipment, which we all obviously know is not true. I'm going to go into these parties in more detail on another post, but this is so disturbing. And it goes to show time and time again that these people, these elite members of society, they can really buy or have anything in the world. If they want to have a porta potty party, they can pay for one and they can have one. And they're always above the law. I mean, activities like that would definitely be highly illegal in the UAE, and yet we hear stories of these things happening all the time.
Dubai is not as safe as you think it is. There is a really dirty, deep, dark secret hidden from the whole world. This young, beautiful woman from Ukraine was found on the side streets of Dubai with broken arms, legs, and a broken spine. This is Maria Kolvashuk, an OF model, and one night she told her friends she's going for a night out in Dubai. But what Maria told her friends was that she's going to this party with two men who are from the modelling scene and world in Dubai. So that party was actually believed now to be a porta potty party. At these types of parties, influencers and OF models, just like Maria, are paid huge amounts of money to perform horrific, degrading acts. Russian media do believe it was a possibility that Maria was used as a sex slave and was raped horrifically multiple times during this party, which is why she had broken bones and a broken spine and then was eventually discarded on the side of the street.
I was born into a satanic family going back quite a few generations. In front life, my mother was a sex worker. In back life, she was a slave to some other members of her family and also non-family members who were part of the cult networks. I was sold to a man that I knew as Louis Valou. This guy named Louis Valou was part of organized crime in Lower Manhattan in Chinatown, and he was one of my handlers growing up. There was a period where he was grooming me essentially to take his position. I had to do a lot of physical violence towards other children as part of his initiations, and some of that culminated in public death matches, cage matches with other children in Chinatown for paying audiences. Different politicians would show up sometimes, actors would show up sometimes, and a lot of the really wealthy people who are anonymous would show up. They took me to private islands in the Bahamas, showed me how some of the trainers were living.
Like the Jeffrey Epstein Island?
Among others, yeah.
You were there?
I was there. When I was being taken to these islands, I would see all kinds of popular and famous people. About Epstein himself, he was really able to switch on a dime from, absolute murderous rage killing to just completely pleasant. He could deal with the high-minded and the low-minded, bring everybody to their basest level and send them on their way to experience whatever horrible things they might want. It was a well-run operation. Obviously, it wasn't just him.
Why is it that every time someone threatens the world's most powerful people, they end up dead? Not after years, not by accident, right when their voices needs to be heard the most. William Coombs, the indigenous man who said he witnessed Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip take 10 children who were never seen again. Healthy one moment, dead the next. They said natural causes, just weeks before he was due to testify. Princess Diana, the people's princess, she knew the darkness inside the royal family. She feared for her life. She wrote it down. They're planning an accident in my car. And then she crashed in a tunnel with no CCTV, no proper investigation, just silence and a sea of flowers from people who knew. And now Virginia Giuffre, a woman who stood up against billionaires, royalty, predators, gone, dead just days ago. Another bright light extinguished. And she's not alone. Police officers, investigators, journalists who dug too deep into royal or elite scandals. Many died suddenly too. Dr. David Kelly exposed lies at the highest level of government, found dead in the woods, wrists slit, with almost no blood at the scene, ruled suicide, of course. Jeffrey Epstein, one of the most high-profile prisoners in the world, who was about to expose names that reached the highest halls of power. Left alone, cameras turned off, found hanged in his cell. They tell us it's coincidence. They tell us to forget. But the pattern is too loud to ignore. The people who stand up against evil, who dare to lift the veil, they're the ones who vanish. And the monsters they tried to expose, they're still out there, smiling for the cameras, drinking champagne, rewriting history. Remember their names, remember their courage, because if we don't, no one else will. And follow for more news, views, and uncomfortable truths.
In 2014, a search party stumbled upon a dilapidated building that was being used as a slaughterhouse for human beings. At the time, there were multiple motorcycle taxi drivers that had started to turn up missing around the Ibadan area of Nigeria. All of these men had seemingly disappeared without a trace. Because of these disappearances, rumors of abduction by a group of occultists for the purpose of ritualistic sacrifice began to spread among the locals in the area. Even though there were no suspicions of foul play in each of these missing persons cases, there were reports of strange people in the bushes of the area around the same time that these people vanished. This caused even more speculation and rumors to spread. So the colleagues of these missing taxi drivers took matters into their own hands out of fear for their own safety. They all rallied together to form an impromptu search party after word of another missing taxi driver got out. On March 22nd, this group of people arrived at the Soka Forest, otherwise known as the Ibadan Forest, where they discovered a dilapidated building. Inside of this building, they found over 20 human beings shackled and severely malnourished. Alongside them were dozens of decomposing bodies with shackles still around their ankles. Human remains were scattered throughout the building, and according to the survivors, the deceased had reportedly been butchered on butcher blocks. Some of the remains were still chained to the slabs. There was also a room filled with personal belongings presumed to belong to the victims, with items like wallets, IDs, jewelries, even children's toys. Once authorities arrived, the search progressed, and it was discovered that on top of the corpses that they found inside of the building, they were also scattered throughout the forest itself. They were hidden in bushes, stowed away in tree trunks, stuffed inside of caves, and buried in shallow graves. All of these bodies were found in different states of decomposition. Some of them were missing limbs, internal organs, some of them were even missing their heads. So this further pushed this idea that these humans were being used in some sort of ritualistic practice. Once the search was complete, it was revealed that the bodies of 20 deceased victims were uncovered. But there were also reports of hundreds of human skulls found throughout the area, and it's still unclear if those identities have ever been revealed. The victims recovered that were still alive were described as being living skeletons. They were surrounded by flies and had maggots eating at their flesh. When they were rescued and questioned about what had happened to them, they all told stories about being kidnapped, kept in chains, tortured, and starved. A lot of them said they were only fed once per week. And for what purpose, they didn't know. These people had no idea why they were there, and on top of that, most of them couldn't even recall what their captors looked like. But the interesting part is that some of them claimed that their abductors looked like government officials. And this left a lot of people speculating that Nigerian officials in high places were using these victims for ritualistic purposes to help further their roles in power. What added more fuel to the fire is that when protesters rallied to get answers for the victims of this horrific operation, they were met with a lot of resistance. At one point, security guards that were guarding this dilapidated building had even shot live rounds into the crowd, striking a woman who later passed away at the hospital. According to an article by The Telegraph, the security officers that were in charge of keeping the crowd under control were quoted saying that this site was not a den of kidnappers, but instead a, quote, place where the destitute were being rehabilitated. Authorities would eventually make arrests in connection to what was uncovered at the Ibadan forest, including suspects who were security guards and policemen. But to this day, nobody has ever been charged.
Their sacrifices have increased in the last it started increasing in the early 80s. The amount that they were doing is increased. And they use a lot of druidic holidays to do this. But they have other days too. They've mixed all of these satanic and what are called satanic holidays and druidic holidays. And in order to have these rituals, which ritual seems to be important to them, but they also use it in order to drink this blood. They seem to need more.
Have you any idea why it's increased since the 80s?
So there are changes going on in the earth. It seems they're not able to hold their shape like they once were able to, and people see them shapeshift more and more, and they need the blood to try and maintain it, to try and maintain their human form. I believe there's a time coming that what I because of what I've been told, when they are not going to bother having to hold that human shape as they had to before. And they want that time to come. It's almost upon us.
So when you're talking about the fact that the veil is lifting on these reptilians so that people can see them far more easily and far more often, does this relate in any way to the fact that there is this desire to bring in this rigid structure, including microchipping and many other things, across the year 2000, which has become known as the New World Order? Is that coming in because it is known that the people are going to see what the game is and there has to be control of the people at that time?
Yes, it's very connected. I started talking about the New World Order back in 1990, and I was very psychologically and physically affected so much by what was coming out. I wasn't watching television. I was not aware that certain individuals in this country, George Bush, were talking about the New World Order. I was talking about it because that is what was coming out, and knowing that the first time that inside of myself that I'd heard it was in conjunction with the Nazis, and that came from Mengele.
Oh, a former Bush official came out saying that they built an underground city secretly for $21 trillion? Okay. Yeah, her name is Catherine Austin Fitts. Now, she says that it's not just your regular tunnel with a bunch of concrete and it's just kind of plain Jane. No, she said this is a luxury city built under the United States. Okay. She said that these cities even go out under the ocean. Okay. She said that this was built specifically for the rich in case there was an extinction event for humankind. Which leads us to believe that they know something that we don't. She stated that the transportation down there is way more advanced than the transportation we have up here. Oh boy. She said that it has everything we have up here, but it's way nicer, and they even have schools, hospitals, and jails. Oh boy.
There's a Bible verse spoken of in Revelation that talks about men hiding in caves, hiding from the Son of Man, from his power, and the destruction that he brings. When Jesus came, he came as the lamb, the sacrificial lamb first. He died for all, right? For those who believe in that faith. I do. The second time he comes as a judge, as a roaring lion, to destroy. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts so far on the paranormal? The paranormal, a lot of these clips can be staged and are staged. And it's up to us to discern that difference. Now, when it comes to Anunnaki, the bloodlines, the mixing of DNA, as in the days of Noah, that I 100%, 1,000% believe. Now, when it comes to the elites doing these wicked things to people, innocents, children, I 1,000,000% believe that. All right, I've taken you through a lot there. So, as always, I don't like leaving you down these rabbit holes, in dark spaces. Let's end this with a high. I have a funny clip to show you, and then we'll end it off with a funny dog compilation. All right, let's go.
Oh, shit! A ghost! You a motherfucking ghost! I'ma whoop that ass! I'ma whoop that ass! Oh, I'm scared! Oh,
This clip is mad old, but it's funny every time I watch it.
No!
Oh, no. I come home so I can get y'all behind out and... Oh!
Excuse me? What are you doing?
What did you do? Hey, what did you do?
I'll get it up to here.
Get your fucking heads in now!
Leo! No!
Alright, forget Girls Gone Wild. That was Dogs Gone Wild. And I'm so glad, Pearl, you're such a good girl. You don't do that. But do you know what she does, though? She takes my shoes from downstairs and she puts it on my bed. So every time I have friends or family come over, their shoes go missing. She doesn't chew it up. She takes it and hides it. She hides it in my daughter's room. She hides it in my room somewhere in the bathroom. At least she doesn't destroy things. All right, that wraps up another one for the HFC podcast. Thank you for being here with me as we do these deep dives. This one was a little bit different, wasn't it? Also, don't forget to join the Facebook membership page. It's free and you can connect with me on another platform. Pearl and I was signing out. Peace!